You rock my world like no one else. You make it spin and twirl. Baby, you rattle my chain. Baby, you rattle my chain. Yeah, you found the key to drive my poor heart insane.
Actually, I'll keep the guitar so you guys can all have a gander. All right, test 1 2, test 1 2. We got sound, and we've got video too. All right. Let me see if I'm coming through here. Test 1 2, test 1 2. Yes, we are. Welcome to Monday Night Ramble. It's another Monday Night Ramble, folks. Well, that was the little jam of the night using the new Epiphone Jared James Nichols Rock Beast. There it is. Wanted to give you guys a closer look at her. Here's the headstock. I don't know if that's going to focus, but probably not. Anyway, you guys get the idea. It's a black Les Paul, and it's got a P90 in it. Seymour Duncan, and it's kind of got a real nice flat black with some binding all around, and it's got a huge neck. So all you folks out there that don't like, I guess, big necks, you might not like this neck, but it is a nice neck. It's probably the biggest neck I have on all my Les Pauls. It was previously my R6 had the biggest neck, but this one I think is a little bit bigger, but it's got more of a round shape to it, I would say, and it's really, really comfortable. For me, I like it. And yeah, it's pretty cool. There's still a sticker in the back that I need to try to take off without leaving a big mess right here. But it's cool. The headstock in the back's got that white kind of look to it, so it's pretty nice and customized looking. So, oh man, this thing. It's hard to show you this on this angle, but you get the idea. So let me put this over here, and if you guys have any questions on this, or you need to see it more, or whatever, just tag me in the chat and let me know. But for now, we're gonna move on with the show. I was using the Helix for most of the sound you heard there, and I'm starting to use the Helix a lot more, actually trying to play, because I will be playing live this summer with it, which I will tell you a little bit more about as well. And my plan is to use the Helix as my rig with an amp on stage, but going through the amp and plugging right through the PA system, but using the Helix for most of my sounds and, switching effects and stuff. I will be playing probably it looks like almost 4 or 5 songs with this band that's asked me to play a festival with them this summer. So, and the songs that we're looking at doing will have varying tones and setups and different things. So I'm starting to get used to playing and switching and all that stuff, because I never really did that. As a bass player, I wasn't pressing pedals. I had my sound and I was pretty much, stuck with that. If I had a chorus or something that I would bring in for a certain part of a song, but I wasn't by far touching anything that's on the, pedal boards or anything of that nature for the most part. So I need to start to get used to doing that on the fly and paying attention to what I'm doing on the guitar, because it's a whole new thing. So with that all being said, it is Monday Night Ramble, and we are live. Let me put that up here. We are live. I think is it February 10th? Yeah, I think it's February 10th. Let's say it's February 10th, if I could speak like a normal person. All right. Let's see, Zach Thong, first guy in. Wish I had a prize for the first guy in, but I don't. But anyway, thanks for jumping in. CN8800, hey, John. John's in the house. I saw John was at the airport. I think I saw that today. I saw it on Facebook. He said he was flying back to Moncton or St. John or something. Hope your trip went well. If it was you, I could be wrong. I see so many things through my social media. It's hard to keep track sometimes. James Severin, yo, Epiphone, yeah, Epiphone Brian, yeah. Oh, hey, it's a great guitars, man. Check them out if you're looking for anything in the 2020 range. Definitely check that. And that one's not even a 2020. That came out last year, probably last summer. And but man, it's so far I've been really liking it. I changed the strings on it when I got it. It came with, I guess, a lighter gauge string than what I use, so I put 10.5s on there, and yeah, it's really nice. I need to set up my Helix patches differently for different guitars, because the pickups are reacting different to my setups in my amps. So I'll probably have to do a custom patch for that guitar alone. Tonight I was using more of a general patch that I've made, and it sounds okay, but I can do a lot better than that if I customize it a little bit more. So I will play around and get it done at some point. Joe Hervey, yo. Quentin James, new guitar night is overrated like EVH. Yeah, no, this is EVH free zone here, folks. So just saying. Metal Soda, what's going on? Nice to see you, David Ennis. Thanks, David Ennis. Nice to see you. Dog Puzz in here. Do Eruption, yeah. We put that tape on your guitar. Yeah. I don't think I would try Eruption. Well, I mean, I would never say never, but right now there's no way I would do Eruption. Brad Egan, how's it going, Brad? Nice to see you, brother. Stephen S. Got the metal horns up there. Thanks for jumping in. You should have at least 1,000. Yeah, I'm working on it, Metal Soda. I'm working on it. I need 1,000 subs soon, folks. So if you know anybody that's not subscribed, get on them. Let's get this thing to 1,000 so we can open up all the features of the channel and start to really push it a little bit more. But it's all good. I'm very comfortable with what I have, and yeah, like I said, the only reason I'd like to get 1,000 is so I could open up the full features of the YouTube account, do streaming from the phone. I can still do that, and I'm working on something. I found, I guess, a service, because I have a Vimeo account at work, and now Vimeo has a live streaming platform that you can use your phone with. But in the Vimeo account, I can go in there and say, anything I'm streaming from my phone, push it to my YouTube account as well, and it does it from there. So I might be able to get around that, but it'd be nice to just get the channel up to 1,000 and just do it straight from the YouTube app. That'd be nice, but it'll get there at some point. We just keep pushing on, keep creating some content. Let's see, Stephen S. We saw Stephen S. earlier. Janice Lala, what's going on? I hope you're caught up with all your videos. She's always catching up on her videos. Fender amp, yeah. Let me get through the chat. We'll discuss that as well. There's some more new stuff that I'm experimenting with and getting ready. Again, with the playing live this summer, I need to come up with a little rig that it's going to be easy to take, and also it can be used as an amp by itself without the helix if I ever needed to do that, and I bring a couple of pedals like a distortion pedal or something, and I'll be good to go, because I do want to do a little bit more live playing and, you know, jamming with folks. So having a nice portable little rig with me. But I've been trying some stuff over the last few weeks. As you know, last week I had the Friedman in here and I was working with that, so I'll give you an update on how that went and where I'm at now. Brad Miller, what's going on? Love me some P90. Yeah, P90s are just amazing. Let's see. What happened to the JJs? Yes, Quentin's asking about the juniors. I'm far back in the chat here, but I'll get to it. Brian S. It looks like a Les Paul, but Brian hates Les Paul. Yeah, I got something for Les Paul. It's a problem, Brian S. It is a problem, but hey, Brad Miller says he's not in the gym tonight. Or he's not driving, he's at the gym, I should say. Well, that's good. I need to get to the gym soon. I haven't worked out in a long time. Weird not seeing a neck pickup, Brad Egan says. I know, right? But it's pretty cool. I really like it because it's very simple, and you can get a lot of tones, believe it or not, with just that bridge pickup by rolling back and forth on the tone. The volume pot on that guitar is very accurate as far as rolling on and off. It's got a nice taper to it, so I mean, you can go from clean to dirt by just doing that if you wanted to. That pickup is fairly high output. I don't know what the exact numbers are on it, but it's a higher output pickup than my Gold Top back there that has P90s. That has the Gibson P90s in it, and that's a Seymour Duncan P90, and I think it's a little bit hotter on that one. But yeah, it's pretty sleek. I like it. Let's see. Just going down the list here, making sure to miss anybody and answering any questions you may have. Oh, yeah. So Brad Egan makes a good point. Even missing some inlays. Yeah. So if you look at this guitar, let me show you. You'll notice that in this part, there's no markers, no inlays or fret markers or whatever, dots or what. Even on the side here, there's no dots. It's just basically just blank. So your last marker would be the G. On the low E string would be your G. After that, there's nothing there. So it took me a few minutes to kind of get used to that. When you're used to seeing, your next series of markers, and kind of, I've always had markers on all the frets of any instrument that I've played, whether it was bass or guitar. So at first it's a little bit off-putting, like it's, oh my God, I'm in this area and where am I and all this stuff. You kind of get confused, but you get used to it pretty quick. After, because I've had this guitar, well, I got it last week. I think it was Wednesday of last week when it came in. So I've had a little playing time on it since then. So I've kind of gotten used to it, but it is weird. It is weird for sure. Yeah. That there's no fret markers. I'm used to seeing the A, the A box here and then the B, but you kind of get used to it. But good observation, Brad. Good observation. Let's see. Neck pickups have no reason to live. Brian S. Oh, cracks me up, that guy. Missing a few knobs, yeah. It's a simple guitar, and it's a very simple setup, but it's definitely a rocker. It plays very comfortably. The finish on it is amazing. So I see a Fender. Yeah, see, people are all talking about the Fender amp. You're all interested in knowing what's going on with that. I will fill you in a second. Hold your horses, folks. Let's see. Need an invader. Let's see. Dale Palmer, how are you, Dale? Gussie Wells, how's it going, Gussie? Long time no see. Thank you on the congrats there. How many frets on the Nichols Les Paul? It's a 22 fret. 22 fret guitar. Dog paws in here. Okay, so I think I've gotten to the bottom here. The guitar pit's in here. Go get some dinner, guitar pit. Metalhead Hippie, what's going on? Metalhead Hippie's in here. Brad says the 6-string Warwick I had, no fret markers, only tiny. Yeah, this one doesn't even have the side dots past that. What would it be? The 12, 13, 14, 15, past the 15th fret. Not that I can really play in that area that well. I'm still, it's still weird for me to play it, you know, because I've never been a guitar player. So playing down in that area of the neck is not something that I'm super comfortable with. I'm getting more comfortable as I play more and practice more and so forth. But every time I get in that area, I'm still a little awkward with it. It takes me a little bit of time to land the notes nice and cleanly, and you know, the spacing is different. I'm very comfortable everywhere, you know, until the 14th fret. I would say I'm very comfortable in all those areas, but yeah, right down low, it's not something I'm super comfortable with at this point. But I'm getting there. You know, it's a work in progress. Thrash metal and fun riffs. What's going on? Fender has no reason to live. Man, nothing has a reason to live for Brian S., I guess. Paul Lou, what's going on, Paul? All right. We've got everybody. Gary Holt plays a Les Paul like this guitar. Does he? I didn't know that. I know he plays, but a 1P90 guitar, do you think? I've never seen it. Below the 15 fret has no reason to live, Brian S. Yeah, for some people, I guess. I'd like to incorporate some of those notes at some point, you know, just to have a little variety in my playing. But I hear you. I hear you. Okay, so what are we going to do first? Let's do, yeah, okay, well, since everybody's talking about the amp, let's take a look at that, and we'll discuss that topic a little bit. Gibson has a reason to live. Yes, there you go. Now you're getting it. So, as you know, I went, last week I picked up a Friedman JJ Junior, double J, I guess they would call it, Junior amp, and a 112 cab. And the reason I picked that up is I needed to bring it to the studio, my studio here in my environment, and try to see how it would incorporate, because I was looking for some sort of amp or something that I could have here in the studio that I could also take with me if I was playing, jamming with people or going to do a live show or something like that. So I've been kind of on the lookout for an amp and a cab, or just an amp or something, right? I also thought about getting the power cab to go with the Helix. Problem with the power cab, I'm trying to find a solution that if one or the other went down, that I would always be able to do one or the other. Like if my Helix went down in this particular setup that I have here with my, the Fender amp currently, and my Helix, and I was out on a gig and the Helix crapped out, I could still use the Fender amp, and I'd always bring a distortion pedal with me, and I'd be good to go with just that. Or if the amp crapped out, I could just go direct with my Helix. If I went with a power cab, I would always be dependent on the Helix to push sound to it in order to have that solution work. So that's why I was experimenting with different amps and stuff, and the Friedman stuff I've always loved, and it's a great amp, but it also needs to work in my studio. And I didn't want to get back down the rabbit hole of, if you get an amp that's too loud, and you got to get an amp to a certain point with the master volume, I find, in order to really have its character come out. And if you're playing in a small space or whatever, and you never get to that point, and you can't really use it to that degree without putting a load box or something. And I didn't want to go down that road again, like getting an aux and getting a load box and getting all this. I'm trying to simplify some stuff. So when I brought the Friedman in here and I played with it, I thought it was great, but it was just too much power, and there's no way to attenuate it from the amp itself. Like you would need an extra box or something to do that. And even at that point, your mileage varies when you start to do that stuff to your signal. So I ended up bringing it back, which was always the deal when I have a good relationship with the guys at Cosmos. So they said, take it to your studio, try it out. If you don't like it, come back, and then we'll experiment and do some other solutions for you. So I went back there last week, brought back the Friedman and the 112, and I heard a lot of good stuff about this Fender amp. It's basically a Fender Tone Master. It's not even a tube amp. They came out with it last year, last summer. They introduced it at Namm, and it's been getting rave reviews from a lot of people online, like great, respectable players and people that know what they're talking about, like Rhett Shull, Rick Beato, Dave, what's his name? I can't remember his last name, but he's a guitar tech, and they're all blown away by it. So I said, well, let me check it out. I never even had in my thoughts of even looking at that amp, but I started saying, well, I'll look at everything and see what it's like. So when I went to Cosmo last week, I said, okay, well, let me plug into one of these, get me a distortion pedal, and let me see what that sounds like. So I brought a Les Paul into this room where all the amps are, and I plugged into that, and I was pretty much blown away by the sound of it and all the features that come with that amp, like built in. Like you've got a direct XLR, you've got the cab emulation built in, and it sounds really good. And I've tried amps that have that feature before, and the direct out using the cab emulation that's built into the amp, your mileage varies. It's not always the best, but the one that's on this Tone Master is really good. So that kind of got my interest right away once I got to see that. And it has the attenuation built in, so you can go from 0.2 of a watt to the full 22 watts, which is what that amp is. And trust me, I can never play. I'm at, well, it's half, whatever the attenuation is, it's halfway down. So it would be I guess a 9 watt that I'm set to, and I can't even in here. I'm at maybe the max volume at 3, and it's really loud. So that's perfect for me. I can get that, and the way that I'm running my Helix through that Fender is not. It doesn't have an effects loop, so it's not like you're using the 4 cable method like you would in a regular amp, and a lot of guys are doing that. I did that a few times with even the Friedman. I tried doing that. There's just too much noise that was introduced, and it just wasn't working well. And I like to use IRs in my Helix to give me my cabinet sound. So I plug directly into the front of this amp from my Helix. I use a patch, and then I program everything through the patch, and it sounds amazing. So that gave me that solution that when I'm playing live, I can just bring that cab in a Helix or even a Stomp if I wanted to, and I'm good to go. And if either one of them would fail, the other one could run on its own, that way. So it helps with that. But the amp sounds really, really good. And it does have a built-in reverb and tremolo on it with the foot switch. So it gives you those options as well if you just want to play, just with the amp by itself. And I picked up a pedal. Let me show you what the pedal is. So I picked up this pedal with it. It's the JHS Andy Timmons. I guess it's the Angry Charlie, they call it, or whatever it is. But there it is. You guys can see it. And I tried it, and I really liked it. So I picked it up, and I, it sounds amazing. Just this and that amp, without using Helix or anything else. A Les Paul into this and that amp, and you use the built-in reverb, and it sounds really, really good. So in a pinch, I could just bring this and the amp somewhere, and I'd be good to go as well. So I was looking for a variety of things that would be able to be done with a simple setup, which is what that is. I'm not using 4 cable method or nothing, going directly into the front. So that's working out well. Let me switch to that camera angle let me pull this off of the stream here, and let me do that. So you can see it's basically an exact copy of the deluxe reverb, right? And it weighs 24 pounds. I don't know if you've ever picked up an actual deluxe reverb, a tube amp. Good Lord. It's very heavy. So this amp here, like I said, it's not tubes, but it sounds like tubes. Like it really does. It reacts that way. It has a natural compression, which is why all these people online that have reviewed this amp are actually impressed by it, and some of them actually bought it and use it live for themselves. It's that great sounding and not being tubes. You wouldn't think it would sound that way, but it does. So Right now, I'm really digging it. I think it's a cool setup, and it's doing what I need it to do. It also goes directly into my interface with the XLR, so I can blend different sounds. I can use the DI from that. I can go direct from my Helix in another channel on my DAW and set up a completely different sound. Track one time and have two separate parts that have completely different layers to them. So it gives you a lot more options. So I hope that explained a little bit with all your, I know a lot of you had questions regarding that. So let me see. Hey, Guitar Hack. Guitar Hack actually ran into me when I was at Cosmo. He came in to bring his guitars in to get his pickups changed and a setup, I believe, on another one. And he walked by the room, and I was in there jamming, and I heard somebody knock on the door and the window, and I looked back, and there's Guitar Hack. So it's kind of funny that we ended up at Cosmo the same day without knowing that either one of us was going to be there. So hope you're doing well, Guitar Hack. I'm not sure if you got your guitars back yet, but hopefully you get them soon. Just going to go down there. Let me see. All right, so let me switch back to this camera here. And that's cool. Yeah, Gussie, I love the Friedmans. It's just for my particular setup that I was trying to do here in the studio, it was just overkill, and I would have to go down to the load box issues again, and I just didn't want to go down that again right now anyway. Brad Miller says you have a Helix Stomp as a backup. Yeah, you can use a Stomp as a backup as well, for sure. But sometimes you just want to bring an amp and a pedal and you're off and running. So it gives you a little bit more flexibility when you're set up that way. Pooh Ninja, what's going on, Pooh? Big bad Pooh Ninja in the house. Let's see what else we've got here. Let's see. All right, cool. All the features except being a Marshall. Yeah, well, some people like a Marshall sound, some people like a Fender. But the funny thing is about this Fender, when you use your Helix with it, it doesn't have the characteristics of a Fender. It has whatever characteristics of the amp model that you're using in your Helix, which is kind of cool. It gives you almost a flat sound right out of it. And then you tweak your bass, because there's only bass and treble on it. It's a very simple amp. It's not like there's all kinds of settings, mids, and all kinds of stuff. It's just bass, treble, volume, reverb, tremolo, and that's it. So if you set it up, you could go flat down the middle, put your treble and bass at 5, and then all your sound would be generated by the Helix itself. So if you had a Marshall thing on your Helix and you had a cabinet IR that had a 412, it gets that characteristic because that amp is only amplifying and pushing out what you're giving it. So it's pretty cool that you can do that with that. 'Cause that's the other thing when you go with the like the power cab and stuff. That's geared to be a flat response speaker, not really coloring your tone, so that whatever you're sending it via the Helix is going to give you that tone. So it's more accurate that way. And I'm kind of getting that with the Fender. I'm not seeing like when I listen to the tone that I get from the Helix with my studio monitors, which are flat response, which give you pretty much they're made for that. And I go through the Fender with the same patch. I'm not seeing a huge like difference in tone anyway, but it's got a big 12-inch speaker in it, and then you can crank it in the room and it sounds like an amp in the room type of thing, but it gives you the characteristics of whatever you programmed in your Helix. If you programmed a Marshall Plexi with a 412 cab and you put a couple an overdrive in front of it or whatever you did in your Helix, it's going to come through that amp. So that was I didn't know if that was going to happen. As far as like when I brought it here, I said I'll try different things with it and see what happens, but I was surprised that it took the Helix straight into the input and it reacted the way it did as far as that goes. So very, very happy with that setup right now. And you never know, there could be other things down the road that come out that are better than that, but you just got to find whatever works for you at, a particular time. And let's see. Brian S. says Angry Charlie is great. Had that in a Boss pedal. Josh did with Boss. I guess created one that was the Angry Charlie. I saw that, but yeah, this pedal is really, really good. I was super impressed with it. Because when I tried the amp at Cosmo, I said, just bring me a couple of distortion pedals. I didn't even say which ones. Just bring me a couple of them so I can just plug them through that amp to see how it sounds. And this was one of them. And he brought me an EVH 5150 pedal. And this one just blew everything away, in my opinion, when I was trying them. Not that the EVH one was bad. It was just, it sounded overly saturated for my taste anyway. I have a question. Did you hit the... No, I didn't hit... That's the other cool thing about this amp. It's not super expensive. The Friedman just the head alone would have been double what this amp is. Plus, I had to buy the cabinet separate, so another $500 for the cabinet. So I saved $1,500 by going this route. So another bonus by doing that. How hard is it to remove the Fender logo? It's not that hard, I guess, if you really had to do it. But I wouldn't do that. I think it's fine. And if you ever need to sell it or something down the road, you got to have it looking good. Gussie was experimenting with his TS9 today with his Friedman. Dirty Shirley is an awesome amp. It really is. And TS9 is a nice pedal. 24 pounds lightweight. Yeah, it is. It's amazing. Let's see. And Thrash, yes, I did go fix my typos I had on my on my website you mentioned a few weeks ago. I went in and you were right. And there were some typos there. I might have missed some other ones. If you find any other ones, send them to me. I'll go fix them. Guitar Act still waiting for his guitars. Well, I'm sure they'll come soon. I have to go get my Telecaster set up because they give you a free setup when you buy a guitar from them. So I always like to have a guitar a few months, play with it and get it in my environment, make sure the neck settles and everything, and then bring it in for its setup. So I'll probably be bringing the Telly soon to get its tel up as a setup. No, if I won a lottery, I think I'd go and buy a bigger house with a built-in studio and sound isolation booth and get some heavy-duty amps and all kinds of stuff. I'd have lots more toys than that. That's for sure. I guess he says Dave Friedman appears so cool in person. He's always... Yeah, Dave Friedman's a really nice guy, and I was super impressed that he was willing to give me the interview at Namm and took time out of his day to even talk to me. So yeah, he's definitely a nice guy, and he stands behind his products. So if you buy something from Friedman, you're pretty if you need any support and stuff, you're going to get it from him for sure. Dave Friedman called. I know, right? Yeah, he'd be upset with me, I know. But like I said, you just got to use whatever works in your environment and whatever it is you're trying to do. Because don't get me wrong, that Friedman rocked, man. I loved it. But in order to get it to where I like sound, I had to freaking crank it. And Jesus, you would have seen, I couldn't even get it to 2, and my studio was about to... Pictures were all shaking on the walls, and it was like, okay, this isn't going to work for this environment. And I don't have an isolation booth where I can put a cab and do all that stuff, so I got to figure out a different solution, which I did. Stafford Music Studio, what's going on? I always have a blast watching Stafford's Music Studio. Their live stream happens usually on Friday nights around 10 o'clock Eastern. If you're not subscribed to Stafford's Music Studio, definitely go do that because man, they always have me laughing my ass off. Him and R2 and Joe Wentz, they always have a great discussion, and sometimes it goes off the rails, but in a funny way. So I really enjoy that. So keep up the great work. BB Maid, how are you, BB Maid? Nice to see you, brother. Maurice DeBert, nice to see you. Now you can't stay long, but no problem. Thank you for stopping in. I appreciate it. And who else do we got here? Cool. So as far as news items tonight, there's only one that I saw today that was, this guy was a huge influence. on me when I started playing bass. And today would have been, well, does it say? He was born in 62 on this day, which is Mr. Cliff Burton. I don't know if I got a picture of him here. Right there. Let me bring that up. Yeah, today would have been his birthday, and I'm assuming, well, he was born in 62. Is it 62 that I saw? Let me just, yeah, 62 he was born, so he would have been, what would that make him? Close to 60. But yeah, he was a huge influence on me when I was just getting into, playing in bands and stuff when I discovered, Metallica back in 83 or whatever it was, 83, 84. And he was definitely one of a kind, for sure. He had, it would have been interesting to see what Metallica would have ended up sounding like if he would have lived and he would have continued to put his stamp on Metallica's music, because he wasn't your traditional bass player as we knew it back then. He definitely had a different flair, a different style to him, and played he had his sound was very different as well. Played some ricks and stuff like that, but had some great gritty sounds on, and stuff like For Whom the Bell Tolls, and his bass solo and all this stuff was pretty mind-blowing back then when we were used to other types of bass playing. Him and Steve Harris to me were some of the guys that I would kind of not that I ever sounded like these guys or played their style, but I really appreciated what they were doing. They kind of pushed the bar as far as bass players, and it's so sad that he suffered that death back in what would have been, I think it was in 86. It doesn't say the exact date here that he was killed. I believe it was 86, but on the tour bus. When the tour bus hit a patch of ice and it rolled over, he was in his bunk, and it just crushed him, and he didn't make it. So that's what I've got for tonight's any news item, but that was a significant one for me, because being a bass player myself and having grown up listening to Cliff, I just really would have liked to seen what would have happened to Metallica if he would have, like, not say Metallica did great. I mean, they're still one of the, like, maybe the biggest metal band ever. It's just that the music direction, I think, might have been a little different. Good or bad, I don't know. It would have been an interesting thing to see how that would have played out if he would have still been around. So let me do this and do this. All right, 7:43. Okay, cool. Let's see what we've got here. If you got any questions, anything you want to discuss in the chat, let me know, and I will get to that question. As far as what we have coming up on the channel, I'll be doing another video with the Jared James Nichols Epiphone. I'll try to do it this week if I can. It'll be sometime in the next couple of weeks. Where it's more of a demo of the actual sounds and stuff like that, more playing. The one I put out today was just a reveal, here it is type of thing. So that's coming up, and I am confirmed for Summer Namm now. I did book all my stuff last week, so I'll be attending that, and there'll be a bunch of stuff happening with that. I'm actually in talks with Al John and the guys at Gibson to try to work more collaboration stuff with them down there that I'll be doing more specific. I'm trying to do, have more of a schedule maybe based around certain companies that I want to feature more or do more in-depth content, let's put it that way. So that's in the works, so that's exciting. And the gig is another thing that I'll be doing at the That'll happen on July 3rd. So if you're in the East Coast, New Brunswick, anywhere in New Brunswick, and you want to travel to Grand Falls, New Brunswick on July 3rd, they have their big festival down there, and they have a concert night, which is, pretty big deal. They have a full stage, full PA and lights and everything. And one of the bands there they play mostly 90s type of rock, like Soundgarden and Stone Temple Pilot, Alice in Chains, all that type of genre. But they were huge Smeer fans. So they've asked me to go and play with them and play a few Smeer songs and a few other songs. And I was listening to their set list, or going through their set list, to see what I would like to pick out of cover songs that I would like to do. And I've picked a few I think I picked an Audio Slave song, a Soundgarden song, and maybe a Godsmack song that I was out of their list that I could see that would be of interest to me. And then obviously a couple of Smeer songs. So maybe 4 or 5 songs I'll be doing live with them. And I'm planning to bring the Les Paul Custom, the black Les Paul Custom, and then this new setup with the Helix and the amp, and this pedal or whatever, and just have it all there, have my setup and all my sounds ready to go. And it'll be very, very much the first time I've played live since the band broke up back in 2007. So you're talking over 10 years. So it'll be kind of interesting for me. I'm looking forward to it, but at the same time, I'm like, am I stepping into something a little bit too, because it's not your regular just jam night where you go up, and you play a few songs in a small bar or something, and it's, pretty low key. This is a pretty big festival event type of thing, and the people, they're going to start advertising this as, special guest feature, all this stuff because of Smeer. And Smeer was a huge hit down there, and a lot of people will still remember the band. So it's going to be an added pressure that people are going to be curious to see what happens with that. So so nothing like stepping off a cliff for your first live gig. But I think I'll have fun with it, and the songs that I'm picking, I can learn them pretty quickly. And I've played the Godsmack stuff before, and I've always listened to Audio Slave and Soundgarden a bunch, so that stuff should be fine. And the Smear stuff I wrote, technically, you should think that I could be able to listen to that a few times and know what the hell I'm doing, but we'll have to see. Let's see. I'm just going down the chat. I might have missed some stuff as I'm rambling on here, but forgive me if I missed your question or anything here. We've got, I think like 38 people. That's awesome. Thank you very much for jumping in tonight. That's really nice of all of you. I always enjoy my Monday nights hanging out with you guys, talking shop, which is a lot of fun. Let's see. Again, I'm just looking for places where my name's tagged, so pardon me if I missed something on your R2R3. There's R2R3. R2R3 sponsored by... I shouldn't even tell you. You have to tune into a Stafford Music Studios show on Friday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern to find out who is sponsoring R2R3 currently. It changes week to week, but it's pretty hilarious. Thanks, R2. Yeah, I think you'd like that Epiphone. Well, no, you're not. I think you don't like the big necks that much, so you might not like that version of it. But that P90 is solid. It's really cool. Is the Fender amp open back? Yes, it is open back, Quentin. Yep. It is an open back 12-inch. They also make the twin as well, which gives you the 2. And it's not that much more money, believe it or not. I think it was like $250 more than that one if you wanted to get the 212 combo. I didn't need it. I tried both of them, and I was pretty happy with the single 12 and, saved $250. So I went with that. Let's see. Oh my God, this thing just jumped on me. All right, I think I'm doing okay here. Brian S. says Brian's going to end up the Canadian Gibson brand manager. Yeah, right. That'd be fun. I'm sure I could give that a whirl if it ever came up. right, we've got everybody here. Guitar Hack says you'll be fine. Yeah, well, I think I will be. But again, you got to look at it differently. It's one thing to say, that's no problem. I've done this for many years. I've played live before. It's not a big deal. But when you haven't done it for a long time and you're playing a totally different instrument that you were known to be playing before, like if I was going up there with a bass, I would feel probably a lot less pressure, but I'm going up there with a guitar, with a different setup on my pedals, like all this stuff that's all new to me. In my studio here, it's a lot of fun, and I just play and I experiment and I learn and I progress and all that. That's great. But take that same environment and put it on a stage in front of 1,000 or 2,000 people or whatever is there. It's like, oh, okay. But, I'll run with it and see what happens. I'm also hoping to get out and jam with people locally as well. So that's another reason I wanted an amp setup that I can just pick up and go and bring with me for different scenarios and stuff. So, I have some buddies that have a metal jam that happens at the Rock Pile I don't know if it's every week, but every couple of weeks they do stuff there. So if I ever wanted to even, go and play with them, my old drummer actually is part of the jam band, like the host band. So, I would be familiar with him and stuff. So that would be something, it's always trying to experiment and branch out a little bit by little bit as I'm getting back into music. It's not that I want to be in a band again or I want to start a band. It's not that at all. But, playing with other people and getting up on stage live, playing guitar this time is something that would be completely different than what I'm used to. So why not, right? Try some different things in life and you never know what happens. You got to put yourself in different scenarios. There we go. Hey, Dwight Bailey. What's going on, Dwight? Yeah, we're getting lots of comments tonight. We've got a lot of people in here. How noisy is that P90 when you're not playing? The P90 is not that bad, actually. It's depending on the setup that I have in my Helix. Sometimes I put a higher gain setup, and then you'll definitely hear more noise, but there is a built-in noise gate in the Helix that you can adjust accordingly. So if you've got a guitar that is a little bit noisier pickup-wise, you can adjust that, and it kind of takes care of most of that without robbing you from your sustain or tone. So, but a P90 is always going to give you more noise than a traditional humbucker for sure. But in general, it's probably a little noisier than my R6 because the R6 P90s are, I believe, lower output than what that is kicking out. So, but it's not overly noisy at all. I've played P90s in the at music stores and stuff and just trying them out that were a lot noisier than what this is. So it just depends on what you're playing through, I suppose, and how much what's a lot of noise for you might be nothing much for me. I don't know. Let's see what else we got here. You guys are talking amongst yourselves. That's cool. That's cool. The dog paw says, get a new Gleary for the shows. It'll make you sound great. Yeah, I don't know. Now I want to use my custom. My custom has become such a great guitar for me. It's one of those things that when I picked up the custom, I wasn't expecting it to be what it turned out to be in my collection as far as the guitar that I always pick up when I come in here. I thought, it's that cool guitar. It looks great. It's that classic thing that I have always had, a Les Paul, when I looked at Les Pauls and when I had the opportunity to go buy one that was in great shape and everything, that I could go ahead and do that. But since I bought that guitar, I've played it every time that I come into the studio, and it's just, I bonded so well with that guitar. I play it more than my R9, believe it or not. It's just that, it's just weird sometimes. You don't even expect a guitar to be something like that for yourself when you've got something like an R9, an R6 or whatever. You've got a bunch of great guitars and you bring this one home and you're like, man, this thing is just, it does everything. It feels comfortable. It's just really cool. Not to say that the other ones aren't great at what they do. It's just right now I'm really feeling that custom. So that's what I want to bring for the gig this summer. and it looks awesome, you know. So I need all the help I can in the looks department. So might as well have a great looking Les Paul around my neck if I'm gonna, play in front of people, I suppose. Support your community, pay your taxes. Yeah, don't. That's the other thing that was kind of cool. This is the first time I've ever bought a guitar online without playing it. I purchased this one on Reverb, and there was none in Canada. You can, like, I called even Cosmo, and they checked out the distribution people that they work with through Canada, which all the music stores kind of have to go through. And in the distribution chain, they were all sold out. They weren't getting any more until the summer. And then I went on Reverb, and only 3 of them came up, and this was one of them from the Chicago Music Exchange. So I said, you know what? What the hell? I know what the guitar is. I've played it a few times when I went to Namm. I knew that I liked the feel and the look and everything about the guitar. So I put an offer in on Reverb, and I didn't expect them to accept it, because I went lower than they already had a special on, and I went lower than that just for fun, and they accepted it. So I said, what the hell? I'll just do it. And I paid like $530 for that thing. It's unbelievable. And then it got here, and I expect, okay, I'm going to get hit with a bunch of taxes and brokerage and all this other stuff. Nothing. It just came to the door, signed the paper, off you went. So I was talking to Guitar Hack about that too when I went to Cosmo, and we met up. And he said, yeah, he knows that some of his friends and stuff that have that happen, it's a luck of the draw or something. I don't know. I could be completely wrong. In a couple of weeks, I could get a bill from UPS. Who knows? But right now, that's what that guitar cost me, and I haven't had to incur any other costs so far. So for that money, for that instrument, that's a steal. It's amazing. Like, for the quality, I would expect that to be like in the $1,500 range. So that was a bonus. Gussie says, if you ever get a chance to check out Vineham Pickups, a great Canadian small custom pickup winder. Okay, I'll check them out. I never heard of them, but hey, I'm always... Gussie says, I drool at your studio setup. Love dropping by and visit your... Well, thank you very much, Gussie. That's really nice of you. The studio is a work in progress. It keeps evolving, keep bringing in things and moving stuff. I wish I had a little bit more space in here, because the more stuff you bring in, it seems to you cramp up. So I'd like to have a little bigger room to kind of spread stuff out a little bit more. I could move everything into the basement, where I do have a bigger room where I do a lot of the photography stuff. But then, I would lose a photography studio. It would, right now I think I'll stay in this room, but down the road, who knows? I might want to expand and do something a little bit different. So, but that's my other option, I suppose. Brian S. says, I tried to get one when you tried to get me that one from your Guitar Center. Yeah, I know. The problem with that one, Brian S., the reason I didn't go for that deal was I was in the process of buying an R6, and I had to focus my funds on that purchase. I'd either just bought it or I was in the process of getting it, so that my funds were all tied up. Regardless of how good that deal was, it wasn't the right time. But I do appreciate you checking that out for me and willing to buy that and ship it to me. That would have been awesome, but just not the right time. Logistics fees is luck of the draw. Yes, Gussie, I agree. There we go. Shipping and taxes in Canada don't deserve to live. You have that right. Yeah, Brad, I hear you. But it's an unfortunate part of the whole deal. Like, who knows? I could order another guitar from Reverb in this summer or whatever, and have to pay a ton of money. I don't know, taxes and shipping. Because usually when I order something from the States, like camera gear or something like that, I always have to pay a brokerage fee of some sort to UPS. they call me ahead of time before it even crosses the border, and they said, there's this fee. Do you want us to go ahead and pay that? So I give them the credit card, they pay it, and then it crosses the customs without any issues and it gets to me, and then I just sign for it. I've already paid that to UPS, and they took care of the taxes and brokerage. But that didn't happen this time, so, I guess it is a luck of the draw. But I'm happy with it. I'm not going to say, I'm not going to call them and complain and say, hey, you didn't charge me. Forget that. I'll take it. So we are at 7:59, folks. Thank you very much for joining me tonight. It was an awesome time spent talking shop with you folks. Tonight, I think Ben's on at 8, so definitely check out Ben. We've got Phil Mosley at 9, our regular scheduled programming. Our Monday nights seem to be full of the regulars, so definitely jump in, support the other channels. Brian S.'s channel, Live Wires, every Wednesday at 9 is a great show as well. Guitar Hack on Thursdays at 8. We've got, a lot of people from the community are putting out all kinds of great content. And the live stuff is really cool, too, because you get to interact like we're doing here. We get to talk live. And where else are you just going to get a bunch of guitar geeks to talk about gear wherever you are at various times, right? So I really appreciate your support. If you aren't subscribed, which I'm assuming everybody here is subscribed, go ahead and do that. Spread the word. Let's see if we can grow this channel a little bit more. I'd like to get to 1,000 at some point. That would be really cool. And yeah, have a great week. Hope you guys get a chance to play some guitar. And I will give you a little bit more information on this guitar as I play more with it. And I'll do a video with the tones and stuff for those of you who are interested in hearing the tonal qualities of it, other than just what I did tonight in the mix. And that was kind of a quick setup on my Helix, so I really want to spend time developing a patch just for this guitar, which I like to do with all my instruments. So give it its own preset and its own settings, and gives it its best sound. So again, thank you very much for joining, and we will obviously catch you next week at same time, same place, and be good. All right, let me see if I can manage this part here and that, and until next time, peace out.